All right, the Vegas odd makers have spoken about the Chicago Bulls as they have picked them right around 30.5 wins for this upcoming season. We're going to be talking about what this means for the Chicago Bulls and are they still looking to tank? So this is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. Before we go ahead and jump into it, I want to let you know that 77.2% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you dunk on that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. It would mean a lot to me if we can go ahead and get to that goal of 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season starts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of the day. So Vegas has spoken and they're saying that the Chicago Bulls are predicted to win about 30.5 games. So yeah, 30.5 on the win total for the Chicago Bulls. And so let's go ahead and start to look at what the Chicago Bulls were able to, accomplish last year. You can go ahead and check this out a little bit more on CHGO's podcast. They talked about it a little bit. They also break it down a little bit as far as what was said there. But these are the standings for last year for the Chicago Bulls. You're looking at the fact that they finished at ninth. They finished with 39 wins and they had 43 losses. So anywhere in that play-in situation, you're seeing that teams had about 30 plus wins. And that is exactly where they are placing the Chicago Bulls for this upcoming season. And we have to keep in mind this ninth place finish did come with DeMar DeRozan on the team, Alex Caruso, who is no longer on the team, and then also to Andre Drummond. And so that leads me to really the first point. I think that, the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion, they haven't done enough to be a team that is tanking, all right? Because those are really the only subtractions from the team. You still have Vooch on the team, you still have Zach LaVine on the team, and then you also still have Lonzo Ball on the team. And keep in mind the quotes that Billy Donovan has come out and said at the Summer League. He said, look, he's looking forward to Josh Giddey and him playing together. And then also, too, we did trade Caruso off, but we also got Josh Giddey. And if you've been paying attention to the games leading into the Olympics, Josh Giddey has been playing out of his mind lately. So he's looking really good out there. And a lot of Chicago Bulls fans are wondering, well, man, what type of player are we going to get? And I think that Josh Giddey, he has a lot to prove. I think when you go back and you look at what was written about his exit with OKC, they say he was absolutely professional, but he was not wanting to take a back seat to, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They were wanting to go ahead and actually bring Giddey off of the bench. And I think that, before Shai Gilgeous kind of took off like this, like Josh Giddey was still their lead guard, but obviously that changed as the seasons have gone along and Shai Gilgeous has gotten better. And his whole deal was he wants a fresh start. And I have to think that after a year like last season, going into a contract year with the team wanting to play faster, that's what Billy Donovan wants. Then I think that this is a perfect situation for Josh Giddey. And I often think that players that come in with a lot to prove, that can translate to some wins, especially if it meshes together. And if Lonzo Ball is able to return like Billy Donovan is anticipating, then that absolutely means that the Chicago Bulls are not tanking, because Lonzo Ball, if you remember 3 seasons ago, he was able to, help lead us up to the top of the Eastern Conference before he went down. Another factor, Zach LaVine. All right, so Zach LaVine and Vooch are on the roster. Vooch was an 18-10 guy. Yes, I know that there has been a bit of a decline because of, the age at this point. The contract looks suspect, to say the least, but he was still an 18-10 guy, all right? And he's not a player that does not play well with others. Now, I know it's going to be a little difficult for him to play probably a little bit faster, but I don't think that it's going to hurt us. And then there's some argument out there that without DeMar DeRozan operating out there, it actually gives Vooch a little bit more space, and he actually might have a better season moving forward. So that's another factor. Zach LaVine, all right? And so it's been documented that he's been out there in 15 trade proposals, and we haven't been able to move him. We've taken down the asking price for Zach LaVine. Then you see this comments from AK at the Summer League saying, well, hey, he's healthy. He's ahead of schedule from his surgery last year. We expect that he's going to be back and he's going to help us compete. And that is what AK said, all right? Then you see this stuff that, a source that spoke to AK says that AK is worried that, well, LaVine is he's upset with Billy Donovan, which will cause some friction in the locker room, and he doesn't trust management anymore. So it's like you're hearing two different things. And so I have to think that if Zach LaVine is locked in like his tweet, and then he's going to do, I guess, what AK has suggested in his quote by saying that he's going to come in and help the team compete, then that would also suggest to me that the Bulls are not going to be tanking. Because if LaVine's coming in on a mission, and I think part of his mission is probably going to be showing teams that he can stay on the floor, right? And so I'd have to say that he's going to be available for games, and that he's going to try to get back to an all-star level so he can either be traded or, he can fix whatever it is here in Chicago, which I think is unfixable. But still, I mean, the Chicago Bulls might get off to a good enough start, and I guess there's a scenario where he could stay for the season. I'm not going to put it past the Chicago Bulls. I mean, logically, it would seem that the Chicago Bulls would want to move on from Zach LaVine as soon as possible, but the Chicago Bulls don't necessarily operate in logic. All right, and so then that brings us into some of the other points on the roster. Like, you have Patrick Williams, who you just invested $90 million into. You also have DeSumo, who had a terrific year last year. You have Kobe White, that had a terrific year last year. I told you about Josh Giddey. I think that Dalen Terry is going to get an opportunity to show what he can do. Julian Phillips looked pretty good to me at Summer League. He's healthy at this point. And then we have our rookie, Modest Buzelis. I mean, there are some people that think that Modest Buzelis might be the best rookie in the class, and I should say Buzelis. I'm sorry, I said his name wrong, but Modest Buzelis. A lot of people feel like Buzelis might be the best rookie in the class. I know he is not, as polished at this point in time, but the way he competes, the effort that he brings, I think that a lot of people feel like, if he's given an opportunity, he could help the Chicago Bulls win. And we're not even talking about a guy like Jalen Smith, who's come over and shown that he can be effective as a starter. And so I think that this is the best chance for him to show that he can play, significant minutes on a team and help it win. So I think he's going to be motivated. I think Adama Sanogo coming in now on a two-way deal again, and he's already shown us what he can do with the Windy City Bulls. He's also shown what he can do in 2 summer leagues. In fact, he was the center that was ahead of Donovan Clegan, who just went pretty high in the draft this last draft. And I think that Sanogo, really, he could be better. Even though he doesn't have the height, it's something about him. And I love what somebody said in the comments. He does remind you a bit of an Elton Brand. And Elton Brand, I can tell you, he is not that tall. I've met Elton Brand in person, and I'm just like, man, it blows my mind that he dominated in the paint like this. And so, look, Sanogo, I think he can definitely do so. I think that one of the things that Brendan Haywood talked about is like, look, if you can do one thing in the paint very well, you can be paid in the NBA. If you can do 2 things in the paint, well, you can stick around for a long time. And he rebounds, he scores, and then we can throw a third thing out there is his lateral quickness has gotten a lot better. So with that being said, I do not see this team tanking, and I do see that this team could actually go with 30 wins or more. I think that it's not a stretch to see them get to 39 wins. Again, I would not say that there isn't another 9 wins that the Chicago Bulls don't dig out, whether it is with their youth movement in Modest Buzelis, or with Jalen Smith, who I just threw up on the screen. Maybe he comes in and does some things for us. I mean, there are some possibilities where the Chicago Bulls can dig some games out. And I think that they can put themselves right there in the position to be a play-in team. Now, that's going to be hard to hear, I think, for a lot of Bulls fans that want to go ahead and tank. But I want to put this out there and, just let it be known that, look, you're still depending on the lottery ball, okay? Because if you go back and you look at the standings here, the Atlanta Hawks just got the number 1 pick in the draft and they won 36 games. Even if you're saying, well, the Chicago Bulls couldn't win 39 games, they're picking that they're going to win 30 games. So do I think that they could possibly find another 6 games out there? Yeah. Do I think that the Chicago Bulls are going to be in 15th place? I think that they're going to win a lot more than 14 games. So I just think that the Chicago Bulls are going to be in that position where they're still going to be competitive. And they're getting younger, which is a good thing, but they still did not address the things that they needed to address, which is take care of Vooch, and then also to move on from LaVine. They didn't do anything with Lonzo Ball, not saying that they could because he had been injured, but there's too many vets on this team that can still help this team win. And I think some of the youth or the youth movement and the players that the Bulls have brung in now can actually help the Bulls win some games too. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. Before I leave, I will leave with this last point. When we got Patrick Williams, we actually had a better record getting Patrick Williams than we did, I believe, the season before. And so that right there should let you know that when it comes down to the records and, hey, does this give me the best chance to get to the, the number 1 pick or whatnot? It really doesn't. I mean, because if that was the case, then the Pistons would have like the number 1 or 2 pick all the time. So just throwing it out there. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. Do you think the Chicago Bulls will, in fact, win 30 games? Do you think they'll win over 30 games? Or do you feel like, look, they're going to find a way to tank and they barely might win, 15 games or so? Anyhow, let me know. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe. And as usual, I'm saying, Bulls, let's go. I'll see you on the next one. Peace, peace, peace. Go Bulls.